I thank all of you for coming back in this number. I know it's been a long day. For most of you, you traveled a long distance. But thank you for having the patience. We have an inspirational founder with us. All of you know him, right? So all of you who don't know him, can you raise your hands up? Those who don't know him. Okay. So you have a full house. So I'd just like to formally welcome Prateek on the stage here. Welcome, Prateek. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm actually touched, and I didn't know that so many people would know me. I'm not a very public person, but thank you very much. Yeah.
So you have Coffee with Karan. It's nothing like this. Both of us are dignified hosts here. We'll not try to pull anybody's leg, but this is more to do with Prateek. Most of you know him from his professional journey, but this is more to do with his personal life. We'll try to pick up certain facets from his life, which may be inspirational to many of you. Many of you may find similar traits in your own journeys. So Prateek, if I can understand from you, can you describe your early life and if there's any lessons, inspirations, early childhood from your education? Over to you.
Yeah, so but before no out of syllabus questions, okay. On a lighter side, yeah. So so I was born in a town called Dehradun. So in that sense, I'm from the hills, and I grew up in early years. I grew up in Kolkata. My father used to work for Bengal Potteries. It no more exists, but that time it was the sort of #1 pottery company in the country. He was the quality head, and though my family was a business family, but he never wanted to be part of it. But then my grandfather died, so we came back, and he joined the family business. Then the rest of my life, I grew up in a very small town in Haryana. Not many people would have heard of it, called Yamunanagar. And you know it? Yes, plywood. Yeah. So it later on became plywood. Earlier it was known for paper. Balarpur had a very large plant, and then Yamunanagar, Jagadri are twin cities. So my father used to run a steel metal industry so that was our family business. So yeah. But life had its own stuff in store for me, and so my father had a lot of focus for us on education. So we are 3 siblings. So I went to NIT Kurukshetra. It was called REC. In fact, I remember I topped Haryana for that year, and so I graduated again. I think I was a silver medalist from REC.
Fantastic.
In electronics. So electronics was a very new branch then, and so it was electronics was all of computers we knew. And I remember doing projects on what was called the punch cards. So there used to be one mainframe system in the university. We would go there and do that. So from the college, HCL picked me up, and I started my career with HCL in '85. All right. So I worked with HCL for about 6 years. In that, 1 year I spent in the US doing HCL America, which now is known as HCL Technologies. So I didn't like it over there, so I came back. And then when I came back, 5 of us, some of my friends here are aware of this. So we started that was the first startup I did, a company called IT&T Limited, and that went public later in 1999. But there were 5 of us, so trying to make a sense out of business. We were very young. I was all of I think 26 or 27, uh, when we set that up, and so I parted ways, and Progressive happened. Yeah.
So I just interface here. So are there any lessons from that journey when, normally we think, when we start with friends, we think there's a joint passion and, yeah. So are there any lessons from that incident?
Yeah, so many lessons, but I think, the growth of IT&D was phenomenal, actually. When I look back, we pulled together all of 1 lakh rupees. I still remember 15,000-20,000 bucks we put in, 1 lakh rupees, 5 of us put, and that, and scaled out that company. So today it looks like a dream. You can't even think of that. And but 5 people trying to run a company with different backgrounds, different aspirations, was a recipe for disaster, I think. Yeah, and somebody who's temperamentally very emotional like me, perhaps wasn't the right fit in there, and I was the only techie. So the other guys were, the other 4 were all sales and marketing. All right, so it had to fail, and so Progressive happened 1st of January 1998, and I just walked out of it. There was no money in the bank, so I didn't even know how I'll pay my rent next month, and how I had a little son. My only child is a little boy. He just joined school, so I didn't know what's in store for us. But then, it's destiny, I guess.
I think that's true for many people here probably who will share what he's saying, right? Different aspects, but really inspirational to hear this.
Yeah, so that so then Progressive happened, and so Progressive.
I'll just interject here. What was your first order in Progressive?
First order in Progressive. So very, Progressive, we've sort of, I guess it would be some hardware order today, difficult to remember that, but I remember the first 2 years, that time, laser printers were in thing. And I remember we were doing a lot of printer reselling at that time to create cash flow. All right, but and then slowly, a lot of PCs and other stuff started happening. But very important to tell you that, 98 we started, and 2000 recession happened, and that continued, and Y2K happened, and then a recession happened in 2001. So these 3-4 years were very difficult. But we built some services because, my background was essentially infrastructure, managed services. That's the business I built in IT&T as well. And we were perhaps the first off the block to create that market at that time. It used to be called facilities management or whatever. And then, the real story of Progressive started emerging after 2001. And then there was no looking back. We continued to grow very rapidly, and during that period, we started off as a digital partner, Digital India. And now I remember the first large order. So we picked up an order from Himachal Electricity Board. And that was a 1 crore order then, and we had very, very high commission in that. And that is what funded the company, and we executed that and carried from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think that's true for entrepreneurs. The crucible, if I can say that, the crucible is, it's almost like fire. All this 3-4 years recession, the dot-com boom and the past
yes,
phase.
Yes.
I think you emerged out of it, and I think you're one of the first entrepreneurs to spot the managed services wave.
Yes.
If I can say that, it is now one of the biggest businesses for Indian IT services companies.
True. So we continued and we built managed services. We also were a large SI. In fact, for many years running, we were the largest HP partner in India. And until I pivoted in 2011-12 and decided to just shut that business completely. A lot of people felt I've kind of gone crazy, but I mean, so it is not about what's right or wrong. It's about what you believe in, and each one of us comes with a very different skill set. All my friends out there, some of them are my peers. We've kind of grown together in this industry. People like Ajay or Shanbag, Alok, I see there. So we've kind of, but we came with different skill sets and different domain expertise and different beliefs. So for me, I thought and then in 2010, 11, 12, cloud was beginning to happen in the US, not in India, and we were the first AWS partner in India. When they came in, I signed out because I looked at sustainability. Predictability has to become one of the key tenets of our business. You had to be doing something where customer sees value. Hardware had come to a point where it was largely fulfilling, and those procurement guys, taking the decisions and not really any technical sale there happening, and vendors were driving most of it. Even today, it's like that. But then you weren't creating value, if you.
So is that the pivot around the business? Any business or any service line or to pick, unless you see the customer being offered value, then you would not really go into that line, right?
I see, unless you're solving a problem for a client, there is, then otherwise you're getting, pulled by 4 different market forces all the time. You are replaceable. Okay, but how do you create repeatability? And today, for example, 98% of our business is annuity in nature. Okay, so we start our year defining growth from there. Okay, so and we define the growth and the churn. How much will we lose? Hopefully not. And then what do we grow from here? So managing cost thereof and profitability thereof becomes that much easier. Cash flows become a lot better and a lot easier to, So
as an entrepreneur, what are some of the lessons learned, I would say? The recession was a different time. Now we are probably in an almost boom time where probably, you have immense business opportunities to grab from, but probably talent is at scarce supply. So having seen that world where business was scarce, to this world where the business is booming but talent is scarce, how have you seen this evolution? And probably as a lesson to or as a learning for the partners here, some of who are peers, what advice would you like to give?
So I would not give any advice. As I said, I think each one to himself. Everyone has their own strengths and business models, customer sets, verticals, markets, but and you rightly, touched on the talent piece, all right, and the way we've kind of moved our business and the needle as I see things today, talent is our biggest problem, and I don't think this problem is going away in the short run. In fact, just the day before, I had a big meeting with the NASSCOM folks to figure out how the overall industry is looking at this. And, it's compounded in India for many reasons. One, the output of the engineering students that are coming out, the quality is suboptimal. They're not really hireable, so it really takes 2 years to really get them to do something meaningful. But then you are a global factory, so there is, and the pandemic changed the game further because two things are happening as a large phenomenon. One, of people move to hometowns, so they want to work from wherever they are. And therefore, they become employable for everybody in the world. So there's a large pool of people doing that. And then a lot of people are double timing, they're moonlighting. They're doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs. It's a very different problem, but in our own understanding of this and in the way the digital transformation, digital transformation is happening for 30 years. And this morning I was in Mumbai speaking at an event, and everybody is talking digital transformation. Guys, digital transformation is what we were born with when the first sort of people of my lineage, or we started when the first PCs came to India. All right, but now it is happening at scale, and the reason for that is the cloud. It has democratized technology adoption. So I think what we think is that, and our services industry really has grown throwing people at problems. All right, we'd hire people, throw them at problems, right? But I think that is passé now. So we've invested and built 2 IPs. One is business, the cloud management business that we run, IP called Centralytics, which today is amongst the top 5 in the world as a platform. And as a matter of disclosure, I must say this: that business is run by my son. I have only a advisory role in that, but that is a new generation, next generation business. And so there we've all the best practices of how do you drive ROI on cloud, the journey on cloud, automation is being done. Similarly, we are seeing 3 years ago I saw this, that the end user story will also need to be addressed, and pandemic actually accelerated it, because we suddenly in a world where people are working from anywhere, anytime, and employee experience has become far more important today, the great resignation phenomena that's running around. So we created another platform which is called Work Elevate, and that really is helping change the employee experience, enabling the employees to solve the tickets, and creating a single place to go for everything that an employee needs to function. So it is no more a separate IT desk, HR desk, or an admin desk, or a finance desk. You do it all together. So I think the solution really is in automation, and at the scale. One of the studies that I read recently is that in about next 3 to 4 years, the requirement for end user service is going to scale by around 4 times of what it is today. So where are you going to get the people to do that? And the scale at which cloud is growing, there is no other choice. You can't produce so many, and people make mistakes. So that's the other aspect of it.
I'd just like to interject a bit now. We have heard enough about your professional journey, which I think all of you know about it. Is there any unknown talent, any hobbies that probably some of your closest friends or peers don't know about?
No, I think as an honest confession, I can tell you this: I've been a workaholic, and some by choice and some by compulsion. All right. So when the time I spent in US, I realized that we are far smarter than the lot there, and therefore, at that time, Infosys was kind of happening. So the one rule, that's inspiration, and I felt that India story will pan out. So I came back. I just didn't like over there. I just came back, and the India story is happening now, 30 years later, but then it's happening. and the so the only thing I love doing is reading. All right. Other than that, I do care about fitness. So and especially when you're aging, you better be careful about it. So, but I have no hobbies like singing or anything else. But I'm an avid.
If I had to recommend a book to us, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, recently I read this book by Martel. This book is called Psychology of Money. I highly recommend. I'm sure some of them must have read it. The other book, which I still go back to, Good to Great. Jim Collins. I keep going back to that book. I felt that was a masterpiece. So these are two books that come to my mind. Yeah.
I think I'm out of time, but it was lovely talking to you, Prateek.
Pleasure.
I can probably, with permission from the host, can I take one question from the audience? Can I take Everest?
Up to you, Srikanth.
Mount Everest.
Only one maximum. So I'll come to you, sir.
Hi, my name is Akshay. I just want to take a couple of inputs from you that how easy and how difficult it was to move from a pure product organization to a services organization, and what extreme steps you took, right, which was the game changers.
Very good question, actually. When I have to confess that it was a very, very painful time, and when I did take that step. And why? Because one of the reasons was that the moment we got out of reselling, all right, there was a fairly large outstanding that we were running with on the back of some very bad government deals that we had done. So it took me about 2 years to clean that up. All right, but that was one side. The second, of course, was to ingrain in the company the change that we have done. All right, which meant that I had to let go a lot of people, who been with me for a long time, but they were not able to see the vision. They didn't want. They just couldn't go with it because reselling was lesser friction. But when you have to build something, or what I normally like to say is, to sell what you produce is a lot difficult than to sell something else which somebody else produces or a brand. Is a lot easier. So these were the two hard parts, but the good news then was that we became completely debt-free, and then I realized that the amount of interest we were paying to the bank and the risk and the sleepless nights. I don't even want to share the number that I was running with at that time. We suddenly became debt-free, and we remain debt-free even today with a very large treasury. We're always ready to invest in businesses. Today I've invested in a couple of startups, all right, helping them, mentor them, grow in the digital space. So it was a tough 3 years before things really started changing. But in this journey, Progressive is in the 25th year now. I've pivoted 4 times in this, so I hope I answered your question.
I think there were quite a lot of honest, I think you spoke from the heart. I think a lot of honesty came from your conversation with us. I think all of us really appreciated the genuineness of your answers. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of the team here and on behalf of the audience. Thank you, Prateek, for joining us.
Pleasure. In this room, I had to be honest. A lot of them know me, and today I'm meeting Anirudh after a long time. And here, I can't be anything but honest here. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.